him to give his State of the Union speech on January 29, after having already invited him back on January 3rd, which I might add, and everything else. Well, one thing that happened late last night and again today is that the Secret Service has said, whoa, 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 don't drag us into the middle of this little cat fight. Nobody ever talked to us. We've already been doing all of the planning, and we are ready to proceed. So don't blame us. Now, here's the other little factoid that you need to know. And I'm going to, Angie, by the way, I'm going to give it the phone number here in a minute because I want to get people's reactions to this. Well, let me put it this way. I can't think of any exception. The Supreme Court does not have planes, trains, and automobiles. Well, they got automobiles. The legislative branch has automobiles, but they don't have planes or trains. The executive branch, because that's where the Department of Defense resides, has all the airplanes. They got all the helicopters, they got all of the airplanes, they got all the cool toys. None of the other branches, none of the other two branches, they don't have the cool toys. Whenever I would want to or need to make a trip for a government purpose, like flying from Andrews Air Force Base to California for the wildfires, or flying from Andrews Air Force Base throughout Southeast Asia, I wouldn't just go out to Andrews Air Force Base and ask the Military Air Command, the MAC, hey guys, I need 2 pilots, a couple of flight attendants, some food for 2 or 3 days, and can we take off in a couple of hours? That's not how it works. Whether you are a member of Congress, the Speaker of the House, the House Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Leader, or the Senate Minority Leader, when you go off on your little junkets and you want to fly military, you have to have the approval of the White House and the Pentagon, the Military Air Command, the MAC, the MAC. So Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of goobers in the Democrat caucus are about to take off today for a trip to Brussels and Afghanistan. Now, for the record, the partial government shutdown continues, and the Democrats continue to scream about how Donald Trump is using furloughed federal workers as pawns. And Trump is saying that the Democrats should sit down and negotiate, because if they don't like the fact that government workers aren't getting paychecks, then come back to the negotiating table and let's make a deal. The president got wind today about this. They're called CODELs, C-O-D-E-L, congressional delegations. They're junkets. He got word of the fact that an Air Force bus had picked up this CODEL on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and had driven them out to Andrews Air Force Base, where they were waiting on the bus, waiting for, now based on the number of people that I saw get on and off the bus, I would estimate that they were probably going to use a 757. Maybe a 737, but more likely a 757. They sat on the bus, and they sat on the bus, and finally they got a phone call from the Pentagon that said, the White House has not approved you using military aircraft. And the proverbial crap hit the fan. The letter that the president sent, I know, and I'll tell you in a minute, there are a couple people that think it is tacky and petty and juvenile, which must mean I'm tacky, petty, and juvenile, because I think this letter is probably one of the greatest things that Donald Trump has ever done. The White House, Washington, January 17, 2019. The Honorable Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., 20515. Dear Madam Speaker, due to the shutdown, I am sorry to inform you that your trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan has been postponed. We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when the shutdown is over. In light of the 800,000 great American workers not receiving pay, I am sure you would agree that postponing this public relations event is totally appropriate. I also feel that, during this period, it would be better if you were in Washington to negotiate with me and joining the strong border security movement to end the shutdown. Obviously, if you would like to make your journey by flying commercial, that would certainly be your prerogative. I look forward to seeing you soon, and even more forward to watching our open and dangerous southern border finally receive the attention, funding, and security it so desperately deserves. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump. Hallelujah and amen. He just handed Nancy Pelosi her hat. Now, maybe people don't feel the way I do. Maybe they're not excited about it. And in fact, Pelosi's office fired back with spokesman Drew Hamill saying that the purpose was to meet with allies and, quote, express appreciation and thanks to our men and women in uniform for their service and dedication, while also noting that there was no planned stop in Egypt. Drew Hamill tweeted out, the CODAL to Afghanistan included a required stop in Brussels for pilot rest. In Brussels, the delegation was scheduled to meet with top NATO commanders, U.S. military leaders, and key allies to affirm the United States' ironclad commitment to the NATO alliance. He continued, this weekend visit to Afghanistan did not include a stop in Egypt. He continued, the president traveled to Iraq during the Trump shutdown, as did a Republican CODAL led by Representative Zeldin. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, a Democrat from Maryland, called the move petty and small, saying to Fox News or somebody, it is unbecoming of the President of the United States, but it is unfortunately a daily occurrence. Now, Republicans, to be completely objective, are split over the president's decision. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, said it was, quote, completely appropriate. But Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican of South Carolina, on the Senate side, called it inappropriate. He tweeted out that one, quote, one sophomoric response does not deserve another. Speaker Pelosi's threat to cancel the State of the Union is very irresponsible and blatantly political. President Trump, he tweeted, denying Speaker Pelosi military travel to visit our troops in Afghanistan, our allies in Egypt, and NATO is also inappropriate. I think it's fantastic. I think it is absolutely fantastic. They don't have a right to military aircraft any more than I did, and I was a member of the executive branch. Now, I was never denied. In fact, one time I was told, I was kind of pushing back because I really wanted to testify in front of a congressional hearing, and I'd already been in California for fires, and I was flying back, and on the way back, I got a call from the White House Chief of Staff while I was on the Gulfstream and said, we hear you're flying back. And I said, yeah, Andy, there's a hearing tomorrow I really want to testify at. And he goes, well, that's fine. As soon as you finish testifying, get right back on that Gulfstream and head right back out to California. We need you back out in California. So I testified the next morning, and that afternoon got on a plane back in Andrews and headed right back to San Diego. I was never denied military aircraft. But I never asked for it for anything other than a very specific governmental purpose. Certainly not to go give a speech somewhere. I never took military aircraft to go give a speech. For that, it was commercial. But flying to a disaster, always military. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is you need to be able to move about. And you can't move about with commercial aircraft the way you can with a private aircraft, a military plane. So I'm really curious. 303-713-8585. Do you agree with the letter? Do you agree with the House Minority Leader McCarthy that thinks it was completely appropriate? Or do you agree with Senator Graham that the letter was inappropriate, just as Nancy Pelosi's letter was inappropriate? I really do. I'm really curious because, as I said, I'm actually giddy over this. I think it shows that Donald Trump isn't going to be played for a fool, and I think it shows, too, that if we're going to play this game of shutting down the government, then he stayed home. He stayed at the White House. He continues every day to be present, ready to negotiate. He continues to ask the members of the congressional delegations on both parties to come down Pennsylvania Avenue and to sit down and negotiate with him. And they keep refusing to do so. As long as they refuse to negotiate, how can you blame Donald Trump? You know, part of negotiations is at some point you say, okay, I'll sit down and let's see if we can find any way to work our way out of an impasse. That's just the nature of negotiations. And for her to have claimed that he should not do the State of the Union because of the shutdown, something that's already planned for, that the Secret Service has already manned up for, why should they take off and go to Afghanistan or Brussels or anywhere else? Why should they go anywhere? This is the hypocrisy and the dumbassery that we have in American politics today, on both sides of the aisle. I think there's fault on both sides, but I find it absolutely fantastic that Trump called their bluff on this. Adam Schiff, who is the chair now of the House Intelligence Committee, was seen getting off the bus as they pulled back up to the U.S. Capitol. And reporters, of course, were there because, they couldn't wait because they were certain that these Democrats would be ready to just launch into Donald Trump. And you know what? Adam Schiff couldn't even speak. Let's go to Gary in Little Rock. Gary, you're on with Michael Brown. What you got?
Gary in Aurora.
Oh, all right. Well, it says Little Rock. Little Rock, Aurora, Tucson, we don't know. We don't care.
What's the difference? A few hundred miles, that's no problem. Anyway, I wanted to tell you, Mr. Brown, that I think you got a bad deal, and I'll leave that at that.
Thank you.
And nothing gave me more joy than this letter that the president gave Pelosi. I call her Pagosi, but anyway, she doesn't have a brain anyway. But here we go. We're going to take a little trip to Europe and wherever she's going, and there's no real function other than public relations for her or something. I don't know. She doesn't even like the military. So why? I'm glad he did it. I remember specifically her carrying that gavel down the highway or the streets with her, her.
Oh yeah, when they passed Obamacare. Yeah,
all these people, and she had a gavel, and this makes me feel good. I'm glad she got knocked to the floor a little bit.
It makes you feel good. I love it. Thanks for the call, Gary. I'll tell you how good I think this letter is. Tamara is about as sick of politics as I'm sick of politics. And I had heard about the letter, but I hadn't read the letter yet. And Tamara comes in from school, and I'm down in my office doing something, and she's giddy. She's like, "Oh my God, have you read this letter? Have you read this letter? Because it is absolutely fantastic." And that's when I decided, oh my gosh, if Tamara's all excited about this letter, I I better go actually see what it says as opposed to what the media is telling me about it. So I got on the interwebs and started searching for the text of the letter and came across it. And I have to say, when I read it, I just sat back and I just took a deep breath and I thought to myself, this letter is wonderful. Just wonderful. Apparently there were calls going back and forth between the people on Capitol Hill, the Department of State, because the Department of State, whenever there's a congressional delegation like this, the Department of State usually sends some sort of liaison along that's a protocol person and that is a subject matter expert in whatever they're doing. So the State Department would have had at least 2 people in this delegation also. So you had phone calls going back between Capitol Hill, the Department of State, the Pentagon, and White House offices. And then finally, they just send the bus back. They send the bus back. Let's go to Ken in Commerce City. Ken, what you got?
Hey, Mr. Brown, I completely agree with what you said on the letter. Made me laugh. And it's kind of funny, as at a play with my mom this evening, and she asked me and my son, well, it looks like Mr. Trump's met his match with Mrs. Pelosi, and, well, it sounds like she just got it handed back to her. So
exactly.
It's great.
That's a great way to put it.
I see both sides of this issue, but
so now what you have to do is you now have to go find out what your mom thinks now, and then send me a text message about whether or not your mother still agrees that Trump's met his match or not, because I'd be curious what she thinks about it now, because I agree. I think Trump's now got the upper hand. Neil in Kernton, Wyoming. Neil, what you got?
Well, I just am thrilled to hear about that letter. Nothing makes me happier. I was thinking back to one of the primaries where the opponent waved a roll of paper at Hillary, and everybody thought that was being mean to the girl. Well, I guess in this case, the female got a bit of a comeuppance. I just think it's the greatest thing in the world. The only thing that makes me happier is if President Trump, who I just dearly think the world of, would have a State of the Union at an arena, film it, and send every member of Congress and every member of the media a copy of CD of this, and just speak to the people instead of a
I forget. I know.
State of the Union to Congress. Just give it to the United States people.
It was Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky came out today and said his suggestion was that Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, extend an invitation to the president to do a State of the Union speech from the Senate chambers instead of the House chamber. And I thought we're now in a little tit for tat kind of battle, and I don't know, maybe I'm just petty, but I get great joy out of watching this, and I think it's because I understand how these people work, and to see someone get put in their place, I kind of like it. You're listening to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio, 850 AM, 94.1 FM, and at the Michael Brown Show page at KOANewsRadio.com.
You remember him from those appearances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He's still around doing 200 performances a year all over the world. I'm Ed Green, and he's amazing. Really, the amazing Kreskin on KOA Q&A this Saturday morning, 7 a.m. on KOA News Radio.
You know, I've told you that I bought more guns at one single place than any other place in my life, and that's up in Boulder at 14th and Arapahoe. Gunsport is our kind of store. At Gunsport, you're going to find quality firearms, knives. Gunsport has a huge selection of ammo, scopes, holsters, books. And at Gunsport, not only does Gunsport buy, sell, and trade, Gunsport also takes consignment. So if you're looking for a really nice used firearm, they've got some of those too. They've got rare ammo, collector's guns, you name it, Gunsport's got it, or Gunsport can get it. I want you to drive up to Boulder and see for yourself why I have spent more money at Gunsport than any other single location in my entire life. It's at 14th and Arapahoe in Boulder. You can't miss that grand old building, and once you go inside, you'll say to yourself, I promise you're going to say to yourself, aha, I understand exactly why Michael Brown loves this place. 14th and Arapahoe, or online, gunsport.us.
Homeowners, there's never been a better time to permanently fix your pipe leaks or low water pressure by repiping your home today. Repipe specialists have been repiping homes for over 25 years. With 40,000 home repipes completed, they stand behind their work. They have perfected the most efficient process for customer convenience, repiping an entire home in just 1 to 2 days, patching your walls, and providing a lifetime guarantee. Repipe Specialists only uses high-quality PEX or USA Grade L copper pipes. And for a limited time, get 20% off and 0% interest for an entire year. Repipe Specialists, the no-hassle, value-priced, all-inclusive repipe. Call today for your free in-home estimate tailored for your home at 888-503-1742. That's 888-503-1742. 888-503-1742.
If you have sleep apnea, the sound of snoring and leaking air may be keeping you up all night. If CPAP just isn't working, there's now a silent, mask-free sleep solution called Inspire. Inspire works inside your body with your natural breathing process. It delivers mild stimulation throughout the night to keep your airway open, giving you a restful night's sleep. Visit InspireSleep.com to learn more and review important safety information. A sleep solution for you is just a click away at InspireSleep.com.
If you built a van, you'd start with the people who invented the work van, Mercedes-Benz. It would be available in diesel and gas. There would be thousands of configurations to choose from, and you'd build it right here in the USA. Introducing the all-new Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, built for you. The all-new Sprinter, built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details about costs and terms.
This is Sean Farshi with Mercedes-Benz of Littleton. Find your new Sprinter at Mercedes-Benz of Littleton. Mercedesoflittleton.com.
Nicely done, beef. No matter how you're cooked. Grilled, sautéed, stir-fried, roasted, or stewed. Your savory sounds are music to everyone's ears. Yeah, now that's a dinner playlist. Good cooking at Beef. It's what'sfordinner.com.
Brought to you by the Colorado Beef Council. Guys, are you not performing the way you used to in the bedroom? This can happen at any age. The doctors at Thrive MD in Lone Tree are helping men reach peak sexual performance with the revolutionary Gainswave ED treatment. There are no shots or pills with Gainswave. It's safe, acoustic wave therapy that's pain-free. You can be spontaneous with Gainswave. Call Thrive MD for a free consultation, 720-575-7878, or visit GainswaveDenver.com.
KOA News Radio time is 7:30. I'm Roger Hudson. As part of his push to convert Colorado to 100% renewable energy by 2040, Governor Polis has signed an executive order today to support his transition to electric cars in Colorado.
There are electric vehicles sold in other parts of the country today that simply aren't sold in Colorado. So it's about increasing availability to consumers, having better prices for consumers, helping consumers tap into the savings from lower fuel costs.
You remember that $70 million from the Volkswagen emissions case? Well, it will be used to build out charging stations across Colorado. A spokesman for the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, is responding to President Trump's cancellation of the planned overseas trip by the Democratic leadership. Drew Hamill saying that the Pelosi-led delegation looked forward to meeting the U.S. troops, military leaders in Afghanistan, and the NATO allies, and they're very disappointed. Snow is on the way to the mountains, according to CBS 4 meteorologist Chris Spears.
Warnings and advisories in effect starting tonight. These go right through Friday evening. So if you do have high country travel starting tonight, you might want to rethink that.
Imagine that, snow in Colorado. Spears says the system is aimed at the mountains. Snow possible also tomorrow in Denver, but it's likely not an amount that we'll see, maybe an inch or so. Our next update around 8 o'clock on KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Well, we still have some trouble spots around the metro area. Southbound I-25 at 104th. We have an accident. It's in the HOV lane, but it's causing a lot of delays back up that way. Also on 225. Got the one northbound 225 up to I-70 cleared, but you're still having some problems on northbound 225 with an accident at Parker. That's going to delay you back to about 225. CBS 4 weather. Tonight, some clouds, low of 33. Tomorrow, showers in the morning, then clearing, high of 43, currently 45 degrees. This report is sponsored by Sylvania Automotive. Sylvania is always looking to improve their headlights to help people see farther and to drive safer. So they developed their Silver Star Ultra headlights to have greater clarity and the brightest down-road visibility. So now you can see what you've been missing. Sylvania, think farther down the road. I'm Darren Copeland on KOA News Radio, Colorado's news, traffic, and weather station.
iHeartRadio is presenting the first ever podcast award, presented by Capital One.
The award goes to
Best Crime Podcast, Comedy, History, Sports, Bingeable, and our first ever Podcast of the Year award, the 2019 iHeartRadio Podcast Awards. Listen tomorrow night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, right here. Or watch the live video stream on iHeartRadio's Twitter. Brought to you by Capital One. We've reimagined banking with inviting cafes and one of the nation's best savings rates. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Looking to improve your shooting skills? Get to the best public shooting range in Colorado, Colorado Clays. Memberships not required. My friends Corey and Doug have a world-class 20-bay open-air heated handgun and rifle range and is handicapped accessible. Colorado Clays is the top choice for recreational and competitive trap, skeet, and sporting clays. Colorado Clays is a great place for bachelor parties and group outings. Minutes from downtown Denver. Please remember to tell them Susan Whitkin sent you. ColoradoClays.com.
Big rewards are waiting for you at Isle Casino Hotel Blackhawk. Join the fan club to get access to exclusive offers. Plus, new members who play 30 minutes on the day they sign up will receive a free buffet to our acclaimed Farmer's Pick Buffet. Sign up today for free at Isle Casino Hotel Blackhawk.
Must be 21. Any and all terms, conditions, rewards, and/or benefits published or received are subject to change or revocation without notice. Eligibility rules and exceptions apply. Refer to official promotional rules. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
You didn't file your taxes last year, and the IRS didn't say anything. The fact is, you haven't filed income taxes for several years, and you figure it's too late. It'll cost too much, and there's no way you're going to figure it out. But there's still that knot in your stomach knowing it's just not right. The bad news is, right now, you're a fugitive from the IRS. The worst news is, if they catch you, it's 1 year in jail for every year you haven't filed. I'm Jack McDonough, founder of Blackfin IRS Solutions. The good news is, the instant we file your back taxes, you go from being a fugitive to just owing money. And then, Blackfin can negotiate with the IRS for you. I can help you because I've been there. The sooner you call Blackfin about filing your back taxes, the sooner you'll get a good night's sleep.
Get caught up on your unfiled income taxes. Call Blackfin IRS Solutions online at blackfinirs.com. For your free in-person consultation, call 303-904-1450, 303-904-1450, or blackfinirs.com.
Can't wait on hold? Text Michael at 56690. Now, back to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio.
We're talking about the letter that President Trump sent to Nancy Pelosi today as he canceled their military air command flight from Andrews Air Force Base to Brussels and on to Kabul. And I just think it's one of those fantastic moments where, you know, politics is to a certain degree a game of poker. And I'm not a very good poker player because, well, I pretty much wear my emotions on my sleeve and you can read my eyes like a book. So I'm not very good at poker. I am, though, I think, fairly good at perceiving a room, reading a room, understanding kind of the power structure of anything that goes on and how to manipulate and maneuver my way around almost any political situation. And when I see something like this, you have to understand that what took place is the bureaucracy. There's a bureaucracy not only in the cabinet departments and agencies, there's not only a bureaucracy within the legislative branch, but there's a bureaucracy within the White House also. there's the White House Communications Office. And the White House Communications Office the White House Comms Office, which is different than the White House Communications Office. The White House Comms is run usually by the Navy, and they're the guys that are in charge of the football. They're in charge of making certain that all of the actual communications abilities, not the political communications, but the actual technical communications that the president needs when he travels or is in the White House, that all those things work. And so I'm certain that the request for this congressional delegation trip to Brussels and Afghanistan went through the typical process that it would go through. And downstairs under the east wing of the White House where they sit, somebody just saw, it's another congressional delegation. They're going to Brussels and Kabul. And so, they type over to the Pentagon and tell the Pentagon that they need a 737 or 757, and they need this kind of crew, and here's the length of the trip, and here's the manifest, and blah, blah, blah. And the Pentagon writes back with whatever questions they have, and they even have to do little things like the Military Air Command has to figure out, okay, how many people are going to be there, and what are we going to feed them? Now, when it's just me and my staff, they would actually ask us, what do you want us to buy? And because that's what they would fix us on the plane. That's what they would prepare for us. So I'm sure those communications were going back and forth, and it hasn't gotten over to the West Wing yet. Well, now they have gotten on the bus. They've gone out to Andrews Air Force Base, and they're sitting there on the bus, and they can't disembark from the bus because of security. I don't care if it's the Speaker of the House. You can't just walk out on the tarmac at Andrews Air Force Base and just stand around. I mean, there's planes coming and going, and so they're sitting on the bus. And somebody in the Pentagon thinks maybe somebody in the White House needs to know about this. Or maybe somebody downstairs in the East Wing says, ooh, maybe we ought to call the West Wing about this. And so the word gets to the president. And the chief of staff or somebody said, Mr. President, we think you ought to know the Speaker of the House is not going to be around to negotiate. She's headed to Europe and in the Middle East. What do you want to do? I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to ground her. Somebody type me a letter. So get Sarah Huckabee in here. We're going to start. I got to dictate a letter. And he dictated a letter and put her in her place. And I just think it is fantastic. Let's go to Lawrence in Sheraton. Lawrence, you're on with Michael Brown. What you got?
Hey, sir. My first response when I heard this was just, all I could think was, well played, sir.
Yeah, well played.
But, it's kind of funny. Nancy kind of forgot that she has to deal with the person who is the commander-in-chief of the military.
And I think she's been so accustomed to the
resources.
Yeah, and I think she's been so accustomed to 8 years of Barack Obama being the commander-in-chief, where she got whatever she wanted whenever she got it, that she kind of forgot that you actually have to ask, hey, please and thank you.
Yeah. So no, I was right there with you. In fact, I changed my work schedule this evening so I could be on and listen to you. I could listen to you when I was driving home.
Well, thank you.
Because I knew you were going to be talking about this, and I wanted to hear what you had to say.
I love my job, and I look forward every night to coming in. But there are some nights that you're like anxious to get in because I can't wait to read the letter and see what people think about it. Yep. That's how pathetic my life is, Lawrence. I was that excited about getting in. Let's go talk to Eric in Arvada. Eric, you're on with Michael Brown. What you got?
Hey, Michael. Hey, I mimicked the previous guy's comment. Can't wait to hear how you feed on this. But my question is this something that occurred without an executive order?
Did what occur without an executive order?
Him grounding Nancy.
Oh, he could have done it just by a phone call. He did it with a letter. An executive order is the announcement of presidential policy. What he did here was just basically he had the White House, or he had the Pentagon call the bus and tell the Military Air Command, hey, you're not getting an airplane, you might as well come back to the Capitol. And then he I'm sure simultaneously he was dictating the letter, and then the letter gets faxed to everybody's office and gets taken down to the White House press room. And so, no, it's not an executive order. It's just a letter. No need for an executive order.
Well, good. Well, can't wait to see more of this type of action.
Oh, me too. And I think what it does is it draws the line in the sand. Okay, the government shut down, and you keep blaming me, but I'm the one that keeps staying here, ready to negotiate. Now, remember, we had the big hullabaloo, the big blow-up, when the last meeting in the White House sit room, where apparently the president walked in and said, if I agree to open the government for, and I don't know whether he said 2 days or 2 weeks or 10 days, it's irrelevant. But he said to the people gathered there, and directly to Nancy Pelosi, that if I agree to open the government for X days, whatever it was, will you give me money to build the wall? And she said no. That's not negotiating. And that's when he said, well, then there's nothing more to talk about. And according to Chuck Schumer, slammed his hand down. According to everybody else, he didn't slam his hand down, but he did say, well, there's nothing to talk about. And so he wheeled around, walked out of the room, went back to the Oval Office. This is exactly what needed to happen. Now, I haven't had a chance because I didn't watch any of the network news tonight, so I don't know what they're saying about it, and I'll try to maybe during the break figure out what, if anything, they are saying about it. But here's what they should say. What they should say, if they are objective, is the president has been in the White House ever since the shutdown occurred. He didn't go to Mar-a-Lago for Christmas. He stayed in the White House. He didn't even go to Camp David. He stayed in the White House. He has routinely asked them to come down and negotiate. Now, some people, I've heard scuttlebutt about, well, why doesn't he go up to Capitol Hill? Well, he has done that once or twice. But the logistics is that they should come to the White House. Because to move the president and to move all of the communications and everything that has to go with him, even for the short drive up Pennsylvania Avenue, is a nightmare. It's just easier for them to go to the White House. And it's more secure. They're more secure in the White House than they are in the U.S. Capitol. Don't tell anybody I said that, but that's just matter of fact. So he's been doing everything correctly. So the media should say the president today denied Nancy Pelosi the ability to use military aircraft during a partial government shutdown to travel to Brussels and Kabul, telling her that she could go if she wanted to by private commercial air travel, but that he didn't think it was appropriate considering that there are 800,000 workers that are being furloughed or working without pay. That's the objective way to put it. Now, I know I'm pissing in the wind because that's not what will happen. So I said earlier, occasionally I like to be able to say, I told you so, and this is a chance where I can tell you I told you so. Last night I was explaining that the State of the Union is a national special security event that the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, the Secret Service, the U.S. Capitol Police, in fact, that for that matter, the D.C. Metro Police, the D.C. Fire Department, they all plan this months in advance because they know it's going to happen every year. And I said last night that it's absurd for Nancy Pelosi to say that because of the government shutdown that there's all of these people that are planning and they're not getting paid and they can't guarantee the security of everybody. And I said that's BS. Because the Secret Service and the U.S. Capitol Police, whether they're getting paid or not, are essential government employees, and they're still working. Now, it makes no sense to me. I understand the rationale that was made at the time, but the Secret Service is no longer a part of the Treasury Department. It's a part of the Department of Homeland Security. Someday I'll tell you the story why. It's just more dumbassery. But it is. So the Secret Service is not getting paid. But they are obviously essential government employees. So they're still at work. And the planning that has to take place has taken place long before Nancy Pelosi even invited the president in that January 3rd letter. What Pelosi is really saying when she says that she's recommending that they delay the State of the Union until after the government reopens, as the Secret Service, the lead federal agency, faces its 26th day without funding. What she's really saying is that she has no intention of negotiating an end to the shutdown between now and the 12 days when the State of the Union is scheduled to occur. Homeland Security has told the press that Pelosi wasn't being truthful. One senior Homeland Security official told Fox News that they had been preparing for months for the State of the Union event. Told you so. The official said, quote, "We are ready. Despite the fact that members of the Secret Service are not being paid, the protective mission has not changed," adding that this is a no-fail mission. The official also noted that no one from the Democratic congressional leadership reached out to the Secret Service to ask if the agency was able to secure the State of the Union address. Another senior DHS official told Fox News that there are zero security concerns with the State of the Union. I think the president's gotten the upper hand. Peter Alexander over at NBC News. Secret Service is fully ready to offer full protection during the State of the Union, a senior law enforcement official tells us at Pete Williams, MSNBC. It is a no-fail mission, the official says. Though the U.S. Secret Service personnel are not being paid, the intelligence and protection functions are fully staffed. Peter Alexander goes on to tweet that the Secret Service says, "We have been planning for this for months, as we always do. It didn't start up 29 days ago." The Secretary of Homeland Security tweeted, "The Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Secret Service are fully prepared to support and secure the State of the Union. We thank the Secret Service for their mission, focus, and dedication, and for all they do each day to secure our homeland." I don't know what you're hearing on the news, but it's a bunch of BS. It's really no surprise that Republican House leadership are accusing Pelosi of being political. Kevin McCarthy says it is unbecoming of a speaker to do this. House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, a Republican from Louisiana, urged the president to press forward with the speech. He said, "For Nancy Pelosi to withdraw the offer shows the insecurity on their part and that they can't defend their open borders policy. The country deserves to hear from the president. To think the speaker would lock the doors and prevent the people from hearing from the president of the United States is absurd." Here's what's going on. And again, I want to be intellectually consistent. I hate State of the Union speeches. They're a bunch of pomp and circumstances that goes way beyond. It is almost like the king descends down from the throne and goes into Parliament. The Queen leaves Buckingham Palace and goes down to the Parliament building, and everybody's all a-gaga because the Queen has dared to make her presence known. It's a bunch of BS. You got the guests up in the gallery. You got everybody hooting and hollering. You got one half of the chamber standing up for the standing ovation while the other people sit on their hands. And the poor Supreme Court justices, I don't even know why they should. If I were Chief Justice Roberts, I would say it's time that we stop going to these things. We can't and should not applaud or show any approval or disapproval of anything that is said or done. We just have to sit there. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, they don't need to be there. The cabinet doesn't need to be there. As I said earlier, every cabinet member, particularly after they've been to one Secret Service, after they've been to one State of the Union speech, they all clamor to be the guy or the gal that gets picked not to go to the next State of the Union speech. Because the hassle of getting, even if you are the Secretary of Commerce, you are the Secretary of State, I don't care who you are, the hassle of having your security detail coordinate with the Secret Service and the Capitol Police, and then to get through all the barricades, because the Capitol there is a huge barrier around the Capitol, not just the Capitol itself, but for blocks around the Capitol, you can't get anywhere. And then you have to get dropped off. You have to be seated well in advance of the president getting there. It is a pain in the ass to attend a State of the Union. Been there, done that. It's a pain in the rear if you're not there, but you're responsible for all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I shouldn't say all the stuff, but part of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I don't want to mislead anybody. So I think I'm intellectually consistent in saying that I still think that State of the Unions are a crock of malarkey that we ought to get rid of. And the president ought to just deliver if you want to give a speech from the Oval Office, hey, that's fine with me. You want to print it out and have the government printing office put it in nice little blue binders with the presidential seal and distribute it to 535 members of Congress and the press and everybody else that wants it, that's fine with me too. Or if you just want to send an email that says, because here's the State of the Union. Secure, good, economy's growing, good night. See? That's all you need. I just gave you the State of the Union. Except this one might be, the State of the Union is good. We got security problems on our borders and at our ports. We've got a party in power that won't fund the government, that's kept it shut down. We still need entitlement reform. We still need spending controls. We need you guys to actually do your job. And oh, by the way, it's time for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, bless her little pea-picking heart, to retire. She can't even attend oral arguments. And, we wish her well. We hope she's cured of cancer. But, you're almost 80-some years old. You're almost 90 years old, and you can't do your job. Maybe you ought to stay home and take care of yourself instead of worrying about whether or not Donald Trump gets another appointee. That's the State of the Union. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. That's it. Over and out. Finished. Oh. Send me a text, 56690. Do you think we ought to have a State of the Union speech or not? Do you like the pomp and circumstance, or do you think it's way overboard? I think it's way overboard. So I'd be curious if you disagree with me. I understand if you agree with me, I get that. But if you disagree with me and you think that we ought to still have State of the Union speeches, we should still have State of the Union messages, but speeches, I don't think so. Send me a text, 56690, and let me know whether you're for or against it. Coming up next, I want to talk about, I have totally ignored the Gillette shaving ad, but now I want to talk about it. Everybody said everything that they wanted to say about it, so they've had fun. Now let me tell you the story behind the ad. That's next. You're listening to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio, 850 AM, 94.1 FM, and always at the Michael Brown Show page at KOANewsRadio.com.
Getting to work on time in the morning is crucial. KOA gives me the best chance at that every morning.
Colorado's Morning News has traffic reports every 10 minutes to help you arrive on time. Mornings at 5 on KOA News Radio.
I should have had Done Right do it. Don't be that person that says this after ordering your remodeling project. Right, Dad?
You've got that right, Todd. Hi, folks. Dan Cicchini, owner of Done Right Kitchens and Baths, Windows and Doors. Simply put, we make people happy. Ever since the 80s, we've proven ourselves by being picky. Tell the folks, Todd.
Well, there's only one way we'll resurface cabinets. 1/4 inch, glued and nailed. Replacement kitchens, only custom-built cabinets by our own people for a fabulous look. Bathrooms, you can count on the tried-and-true Done Right bathroom long-term renovation system. And windows and entry doors? Dad, how much your 2 cents worth?
Well, it starts with a quality window or door, yes, but I'm here to tell you that preparation, installation, and finish are exactly why they'll be able to join those that say, done right, did right by me. So folks, whether it's kitchens, baths, counters, or floors, or even replacement windows and doors, as always, you have our word. We'll treat you right at Done Right. 303-722-2295, 800-362-8370, or drhi.com.
Sometimes it's a buyer's market, sometimes it's a seller's market, but it's always a renter's market. So if you're considering a move or just tired of paying your mortgage, why not rent your home and have someone else pay your mortgage? Renting can be a fantastic long-term investment, but maybe you're not sure what to charge or how to find the right tenants. That's where Renters Warehouse comes in. They perfectly price your house. They find great tenants in just days, and for one low, flat monthly fee, they will manage your property 24/7. They'll collect the rent. They'll handle the maintenance requests. They'll even warranty your renters. That means if your tenant doesn't stay, Renters Warehouse will replace them for free. There's no upfront fees, no marketing fees, and no binding contract. Go to renterswarehouse.com right now to book a free home rental price analysis and see what your home will rent for. That's renterswarehouse.com. Because you can't buy happiness, but you can rent it.
Find out how much your home will rent for. Renters Warehouse. renterswarehouse.com.
You didn't file your taxes last year, and the IRS didn't say anything. The fact is, you haven't filed income taxes for several years, and you figure it's too late. It'll cost too much, and there's no way you're going to figure it out. But there's still that knot in your stomach, knowing it's just not right. The bad news is, right now, you're a fugitive from the IRS. The worst news is, if they catch you, it's 1 year in jail for every year you haven't filed. I'm Jack McDonough, founder of Blackfin IRS Solutions. The good news is, the instant we file your back taxes, you go from being a fugitive to just owing money. And then, Blackfin can negotiate with the IRS for you. I can help you because I've been there. The sooner you call Blackfin about filing your back taxes, the sooner you'll get a good night's sleep.
Get caught up on your unfiled income taxes. Call Blackfin IRS Solutions online at blackfinirs.com. For your free in-person consultation, call 303-904-1450, 303-904-1450, or blackfinirs.com.
If you built a van, you'd start with the people who invented the work van, Mercedes-Benz. It would be available in diesel and gas. There would be thousands of configurations to choose from, and you build it right here in the USA. Introducing the all-new Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, built for you. The all-new Sprinter, built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details about costs and terms.
This is Sean Farshi with Mercedes-Benz of Littleton. Find your new Sprinter at Mercedes-Benz of Littleton. Mercedesoflittleton.com.
Are you getting the most from your natural gas supplier? The experts at CenterPoint Energy Services help thousands of businesses like yours maximize their energy dollars. Take advantage of our custom-built energy solutions, competitive pricing, and strong buying power backed by our Fortune 500 parent company. It's what makes CenterPoint Energy Services one of America's most trusted companies, and it's how we're doing natural gas better for you. Visit centerpointenergy.com/energy services. CenterPoint Energy.
KBCO HD3 Boulder. This is an iHeart radio station.
KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM. The 50,000-watt blowtorch of the Rocky Mountain West.
KOA News Radio time is 8 o'clock. I'm Roger Hudson. An Adams County Sheriff's deputy remains in critical condition, and Colorado's new governor cuts a new 100% renewable path of his own. We have details, but first, traffic and weather together. Here's Darren Copeland.
Well, thank you very much. And all the accidents we had earlier are out of the way. We had one northbound I-225 at Parker. You're still going to see some delays in there that'll back you up a little bit, maybe to Yosemite. And then another accident southbound I-25 at 104th. That should be out of there, and lanes should be clear. Other than that, you're looking at a pretty good drive around the metro area. I'm Darren Copeland on KOA News Radio, Colorado's news, traffic, and weather station.
A mild, beautiful day today, but tomorrow that will change. Tonight we're looking at 30 degrees here in Denver. Tomorrow 40 for us, and there will be a chance for some snow throughout the afternoon and possibly even into the evening. Not a lot of snow for us, maybe a half inch to an inch, bit more down to the south side of town and up to the west. And if you're heading into the mountains, just know it could be pretty snow-packed with some intense snowfall. From CBS 4, I'm meteorologist Lauren Whitney on KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Mostly cloudy and 46 degrees. Governor Polis says Colorado should be using 100% renewable energy by the year 2040. As part of the goal, he wants to support the adoption of zero-emission vehicles. Today, he issued an executive order.
We established an interdepartmental transportation electrification work group that will be the primary venue to develop and implement state policies and programs supporting the transition to electric vehicles.
Under that order, the state health department will establish a zero-emission program, and CDOT will develop an electric vehicle policy. The governor also wants to use that $70 million from the Volkswagen emission settlement to build charging stations and to encourage the electrification of buses and trucks in our areas.
This is Jerry Powell. The Colorado Automobile Dealers Association isn't happy with Governor Polis's executive order. The association says Colorado consumers don't need the government to tell them what vehicle they should buy. Association President Tim Jackson says Coloradans favor pickup trucks and SUVs. He says, quote, there is a reason you don't see electric vehicles pulling horse trailers or hauling 6 kids to their events. Jerry Bell, KOA News Radio.
An off-duty Adams County Sheriff's deputy remains in critical condition inside of an intensive care unit at a Northern Colorado medical center. According to an updated press release provided late Thursday by Greedy Police, an unnamed deputy was shot Wednesday night following a high-speed police chase to from Evans. The driver was eventually shot by an officer. The White House has canceled its own U.S. delegation trip to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders wrote in a statement, President Trump decided to cancel his own delegation trip out of a consideration for the 800,000 American workers not receiving pay, and so they could assist him as his team needs. Democrats are criticizing, of course, the Davos trip after Trump canceled their own congressional trip earlier today to Afghanistan. The families of 4 Americans killed in Syria are receiving condolences from President Trump. At the Pentagon today, Trump called the victims of the suicide bombing of our American heroes. He said that they made a noble and immortal sacrifice. ISIS has claimed responsibility for those attacks. And finally, nearly as old as Michael Brown,
Thank you for being
actress Betty White is celebrating her 97th birthday today. An acquaintance saying that she is celebrating in a low-key party with good friends and music and close friends. I wonder if there's anybody old enough to be a friend of Betty White. Former Golden Girls starring is, well, Mary, right, was it? Yeah, gosh. All these great shows. She's getting around, they say. She's playing crossword puzzles. She's staying current with news and entertainment, and hopefully being a golden girl. Again, 97. Pretty nice. Our next update at 8:30. I'm Roger Hudson, KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Letters on the sky.
Discover the movie everyone's talking about.
Burning in your eyes.
The Los Angeles Times calls A Star is Born passionate, emotional, and fearless.
I don't feel this way about everybody.
Good. We're on the same page. It's the movie of the moment. The New York Times says it's a gorgeous heartbreaker.
I love you. Always remember us this way.
A Star is Born. Own the digital movie now. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Retirement. It could be the best years of your life. You'll finally get to do what you want to do. Travel, golf, spend time with the grandkids, or just relax at home. But you have to plan for it. Start by tuning in to Matt Clace every Saturday morning at 6 for Financial Awakening. Don't wing it, plan for it. Tune in Saturday mornings at 6 for Financial Awakening with Matt Clace of the Paradigm Group. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Tonight, Michael Brown joins me here.
This is the former FEMA director.
Talk show host Michael Brown.
Brownie.
Now,
Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
it's a heck of a show with Michael Brown.
You're on the radio.
On KOA News Radio.
I don't honestly remember when this stupid Gillette commercial came out. Today, you see, it may have been this week. I don't know. 3 days ago? See, Angie pays attention, I don't. And I just didn't care about it. I heard about it. I watched it. I thought it was stupid. And I had no interest at all in talking about it. So I didn't. Today, a story pops up. And the headline is, "The social justice warrior women behind Gillette's men-shaming ad." Oh, now I'm interested. Here's the ad in case you haven't heard it. I have only watched it one time, and that was today. Now I'm going to hear it for the second time. I still think it's a yawner.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it?
It's likely happening here in bullying as well. A problem
we can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
and there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big.
Yo, men, we're everyone.
And small.
I am strong.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
The boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow. The ad itself is just stupid. Every stereotype, and I always thought that stereotypes were what we were trying to get away from. But instead, Gillette has chosen, or the social justice warrior women that were behind this ad have chosen to take every low-life, stupid, irrelevant, outdated stereotype and use it to continue to convince men that the only thing they should do is be a bunch of wusses that are just not willing to stand up and be men anymore. But you would know, I guess I never thought about it, but I guess I should have realized that this campaign would be the brainchild of a woman whose past ad campaigns include an homage to female genitalia and menstruation blood. How's that? This ad campaign is premised on men not being at their best and having loads of work to do to satisfy the toxic feminism that has now weaseled its way into the current culture. And yes, I use the phrase toxic feminism. Toxic feminism is destroying the relationship between men and women. And for that matter, between men and women and women. It's destroying relationships everywhere. If you're going to do an ad about female genitalia and menstruation blood, then the logical next step for you is to do an ad that denigrates men in every stereotypical way possible. The director behind this ad is a woman whose past work includes an ode to female genitals and a short film that explores toxic masculinity that features a protagonist whose life crumbles when he becomes addicted to steroids. Wow. I'd say that's quite a portfolio there. This ad has a title, "We Believe the best men can be. It takes aim at bullying, sexual harassment, and when I look today, let's see, I wrote it up here. It has now been viewed, when I looked at it today, 16 plus million times. I'm ashamed to say that I watched it once. But while it has amassed 85,000 likes on YouTube, it has also racked up more than 500,000 dislikes, with some of the comments below the video accusing it of being anti-male, anti-white, and of spreading pure propaganda and indoctrination. I wouldn't accuse it of that. I would contend that is precisely what it does. Kim Gehrig, the director of this ad, is an Australian mother of two. She lives in London. She has a lengthy history of taking aim at social ills through her work. The commission for Gehrig was itself consciously social activism on the part of Procter & Gamble, who found her through Free the Bid. Free the Bid is a nonprofit that tries to raise the profile of female and non-white advertising directors. Some such as Portfolio shows that it shares Gehrig's socially active approach, with notable campaigns that include Audi's feminist 2017 Super Bowl commercial, I didn't look it up because I don't care, and an ad for feminine hygiene brand Le Brise, which is sold as Bodyform in the United Kingdom, that offers a no-holds-barred look at menstruation, including shots of blood and period sex. I don't mean period sex like sex in the 1800s or sex in the Renaissance period or sex in the Dark Ages. No, I mean female period sex. And somehow that's, I mean, I don't care, but somehow that's supposed to be enlightening? That's supposed to be enlightened? Huh? Now, Gillette, God bless them, says they stand by the new campaign, which they admit was informed by a survey in which it asked people across the United States what a man at his best looks like. They didn't ask me. I don't know of, I mean, let's be honest. Boys will be boys, but that doesn't mean that if boys are fighting, that you stand back and just let them fight. If my child, who's, well, he's now grown, but if he wasn't, got into some brawl in front of me, I'd break it up. I don't care who started it. I'm stopping it. But maybe I'm just old-fashioned. According to the study that Gillette did, the most positive traits were honesty. Okay, what does this ad have to do with honesty? Moral integrity. What does that do with moral integrity? Being hardworking and being respectful to others. We have to have Gillette tell us that those are positive traits that we should all aspire to emulate. I don't need some doofus shaving company that's selling me overpriced razor blades to tell me that, oh, you should be honest and have moral integrity and be a hard worker and you should be respectful to others. Sounds like a kindergarten or a first grade lecture. Okay, boys, now you need to be honest. You need to tell us the truth about what you did or didn't do. You need to have moral integrity, and I know you're just sixth graders, so I'm not sure you understand what moral integrity is, but, you know, let me explain it to you. You need to be hardworking. You need to be respectful of others. Isn't that what you learned growing up? If you're not learning that growing up, let me be very clear here. If you're not learning that growing up, you're not going to learn it from an ad. If you don't have honesty, moral integrity, if you're not a hardworking individual, and if you're not respectful to others, an ad is not going to correct all of your faults. You're still going to be a D-bag. Pure and simple. But Gillette, virtue signaling. The survey that Gillette did appears to have proved informative for Gary, whose film shows men stepping in to stop others harassing women on the street, breaking up fights. She says, Rachel Geese, the Toronto-based author of Boys, What It Means to Become a Man, says, we're in a moment where these conversations about male behavior are becoming incredibly polarizing, and they're met with all kinds of outrage. Yeah, I'm outraged. I'm outraged by the dumbassery that says that if you have, and I'm sorry, but if you didn't grow up with a father, or you didn't grow up with a mother who instilled these values in you, because I still sincerely believe that people brought up in a two-parent home are basically more balanced, more successful, and just better individuals than people who are sometimes brought up in single-family homes, single mother or single-parent homes, I should say. Not always. I know there are exceptions. And all you single parents out there, don't let your heads explode, because I'm sure you're doing a damn fine job. But if you're doing a damn fine job, I would suggest this. Your son or daughter isn't going to be influenced by an ad that's been viewed 16 million times on YouTube. It just means that 16 million social justice warriors and one dumbass talk show host that regrets having spent the 1 minute and 31 seconds listening to this did so. Even the most reasonable conversations are met with a great deal of fear and backlash and outrage, so I'm not surprised about the backlash because of that. Well, you know what? Here's why we're outraged. You're telling men they're responsible for the sexism and the chauvinism of a very few individuals in our society. I'm looking at you, Harvey Weinstein. I'm looking at you, Kevin Spacey. And I'm looking at some of you women who are just floozies. This ad really is just telling men at large they individually are responsible for all of the sexism and chauvinism of a very small minority of people in this country. Doubling down, no one has asked Gillette to step up and be another megaphone for some insecure, daddy-issue-laden, developmentally stunned woman. And yet, Gillette's apology campaign is not progressive or edgy or even bold. It's ignorant, it's juvenile, it's quite frankly disappointing. Have these women ever talked to a man before? Because I've been married long enough to know that telling men they're awful is not supportive. It's not helpful. Nor does it change any hearts or minds. But it's a great way to get them to completely tune you out. That's not something I'd expect apostles of toxic feminism to understand, because it would require them considering somebody else's life experience other than their own. You know, Gillette had an opportunity to praise men for doing wonderful things, acting as role models, men being the best they can be. Instead, they opted for a bunch of sanctimonious condescension. And I shouldn't be surprised, and you shouldn't be surprised, that this dumbass ad was written by a radical feminist that thinks that all men are dirtbags. Angie, I need a sip of my Diet Coke.
Do you need a little boost in that?
Mm-mm.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm afraid tonight if I went back to the iHeart bar and got a little rum or bourbon or something, I might overdo it tonight. Do you want to hear the ad again? Me either. I don't want to hear it at all. Speaking of a bunch of condescending women, in a major blow, Democratic National Committee withdraws from the Women's March sponsorship. This is a hoot. Democratic Jewish leader welcomed the decision to take a principled stand against anti-Semitism. The NAACP, the National Organization for Women, have also disappeared from a new list of sponsors of the Women's March. Now, if you've lost the NAACP, if you've lost Democratic Jewish leaders, if you've lost, my gosh, the National Organization for Women as a sponsor for the Women's March, you might want to do a little navel gazing. You might want to do a little introspection. A leader of the Jewish Democratic Council of America, which defines itself as, quote, the voice of Jewish Democrats and socially progressive, pro-Israeli values, said in a statement this week that she welcomed the move, but that her group continued to encourage participation in marches that were not affiliated with the Women's March. JDCA supports the objectives of the Women's March and stands with sister marches across the country this weekend. At the same time, we welcome the Democrat National Committee, the Southern Poverty Law Center. They've walked away. The number one hate organization, well, I shouldn't say the number one hate organization because that belongs to the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan's group. I would consider that to be the number one hate group in the country, followed by the Democrat Party, and then the Southern Poverty Law Center. Emily's List. You know what Emily's List is? Emily's List is a bunch of feminists that got together. You know what Emily stands for? Early money is like yeast. And their whole purpose is to raise early money for women, female, or progressive candidate, i.e. Democrat candidates, to try to get as many of them as elected as possible. They have withdrawn. When the list of the sponsors for the 2019 March was published over the weekend, it became apparent that a bunch of organizations who had joined the march in its first 2 years had chosen not to partner with the group following the controversy over the refusal of the co-chairs to denounce Reverend Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam and his anti-Semitic and homophobic positions and charges of hostility to Jewish women within the group. You know, Louis Farrakhan, the guy that tried to get me shut down for actually playing one of his sermons one night. Those of you who just never listened to me on the other station may not realize that one night I was playing a Nation of Islam, a Louis Farrakhan speech that he was giving at a Nation of Islam gathering, in which he called for blacks to rise up and kill whitey. It was a lovely speech. Lovely, I say. And I also played the speech where he referred to Jews as termites. Yeah, that's not anti-Semitic at all. And when that hit the Facebook and the YouTubes, oh, I got a big-ass complaint from the Nation of Islam. So I challenged him. All the way to the point where, as you go through these challenges on Facebook and YouTube, you reach the point where you have to agree that if they disagree with your argument that it's fair use, that you're willing to go to federal court. And I was like, damn right I am. I'll take this to federal court in a New York minute. Oh, they backed off. They totally backed off. So here we have the Women's March and all the women's groups and all the progressive groups and all the Democrat groups, and in fact even places like the Southern Poverty Law Center are walking away. Somebody that works for Mayor Hancock's office is on her Facebook page proudly announcing how she will be participating in the local Women's March. Draw from that what you will. You can decide whatever you want to decide about that. That's just a fact. And I draw no conclusions. I'm just giving you the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. What are we going to do next, Angie? Now that I got the Gillette ad out of the way, what are you going to do next?
I don't know.
I don't either. Oh, here, let's do some fun stuff. I'm tired. 30? Okay. Let's do some fun stuff. You're listening to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio, 850 AM, 94.1 FM, and always at the Michael Brown Show page on KOANewsRadio.com.
Tomorrow on Colorado's Morning News.
Should the president deliver his State of the Union in person or on paper? We'll talk about that.
A new local report on food safety and recalls raises the question, are we safe?
And we preview a big snow weekend on KOA News Radio.
I've bought more guns at one place than any other place in my life, and that's at Gunsport in Boulder. You'll find Gunsport at 14th and Arapahoe in Boulder. Easy drive. Go up and visit the guys and tell them Michael Brown sent you. Gunsport at 14th and Arapahoe or online, gunsport.us.
McDonald's chicken isn't just any chicken. It's chicken worth crossing the road for. It's tender, it's juicy, and now it's just $2. That's right. Now you can order 6 pieces of classic chicken McNuggets made with all white meat for just $2. And if you can't believe this amazing deal, add any size soft drink to your order for just $1 more. Yep, your meal just got even better. Thanks to McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu. Price and participation may vary. A la carte only. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. Here are a few quick divorce tips that we provide our clients. Number 1, don't move out of your house just because your wife tells you to. Remember, that's your house too. And number 2, don't blow through the financial statements that you file with the court. These are key exhibits, and they often make or break your case. And number 3, watch the social networking. Expect your wife's lawyer to do a thorough online search. And incidentally, this is a two-way street. Now a bonus tip. Partner with your attorney in assembling evidence. You're one of the 2 leading experts on your life and marriage. Your attorney needs your input to achieve your goals. And finally, talk to your attorney before taking action. Good luck.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Colorado attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. 5445 DTC Parkway, Suite 750, Greenwood Village, Colorado, 80111.
You didn't file your taxes last year, and the IRS didn't say anything. The fact is, you haven't filed income taxes for several years, and you figure it's too late. It'll cost too much. And there's no way you're going to figure it out. But there's still that knot in your stomach knowing it's just not right. The bad news is, right now, you're a fugitive from the IRS. The worst news is, if they catch you, it's 1 year in jail for every year you haven't filed. I'm Jack McDonough, founder of Blackfin IRS Solutions. The good news is, the instant we file your back taxes, you go from being a fugitive to just owing money. And then, Blackfin can negotiate with the IRS for you. I can help you because I've been there. The sooner you call Blackfin about filing your back taxes, the sooner you'll get a good night's sleep.
Get caught up on your unfiled income taxes. Call Blackfin IRS Solutions online at blackfinirs.com. For your free in-person consultation, call 303-904-1450, 303-904-1450, or blackfinirs.com. If your business is healthcare, you care about attracting the right customers. With 1 in 2 people looking to improve their health in the new year, now's the time to advertise. Getting healthy, feeling, and looking better are always on the top of the resolution list. Give your campaign a healthy start with iHeartRadio. We reach 93% of Americans, and 7 out of 10 people research your business after hearing your radio ad. Make it your resolution to grow your business with iHeart. Visit iHeartWorks.com. That's iHeartWorks.com.
Nicely done, beef. No matter how you're cooked. Grilled, sautéed, stir-fried, roasted, or stewed. Your savory sounds are music to everyone's ears. Yeah, now that's a dinner playlist. Good cooking at Beef. It's whatsfordinner.com.
Brought to you by the Colorado Beef Council.
This is the Monster Jam Triple Threat Series, a head-to-head competition featuring Monster Jam trucks, speedsters, and ATVs. See Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, and more. Coming to Pepsi Center February 8th, 9th, and 10th. Get tickets at monsterjam.com. Additional fees apply.
KOA News Radio time is 8:30. I'm Roger Hudson. Police in Texas say a shooting outside of a church has left 1 woman dead and another person critically injured. The shooting happened in the parking lot of Christ the Redeemer at a Catholic church in Houston. The Harris County Sheriff's Office says no arrests have been made. The upcoming 3-day weekend for Martin Luther King Day signals the big start of the ski travel weekend.
really start peaking at this time of year, and it continues on through about the end of March.
CDOT's Bob Wilson there saying that traffic on I-70, the corridor, is expected to be heavy westbound on Friday and Saturday, pretty much what we see every year, with the weekend travelers returning to the metro area on Sunday and then again on Monday. In addition to the heavy traffic this year, snowstorm is also in the forecast, with the heaviest snowfall expected in the mountains tomorrow. President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is reconsidering whether he'll testify in a congressional hearing on February 7th. Cohen reportedly feels that he's intimidated by President Trump following a recent Fox News interview in which Trump suggested that he had damaging information on Cohen's father-in-law. Our next update at 9 o'clock on KOA News Radio 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Well, a really nice drive around the metro area right now. The only thing slowing you down even a little bit is going to be construction. Westbound I-70 approaching 270. A little bit of slowing there, as well as from I-25 on down to C-470. Watch for that. We are seeing a little bit of slowing if you're heading up north towards Johnstown. Watch for that. That could be a little bit of a problem on I-25. CBS 4 weather. Tonight, some clouds, low of 33. Tomorrow's showers in the morning, then cloudy, high of 43. Currently 44 degrees. I'm Darren Copeland on KOA News Radio, Colorado's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hi, how are you? With almost 44 million Americans, or 1 in 5 adults struggling with their mental health right now, you can make a big difference with just 4 little words. Hi, how are you? One simple question goes a long way in showing someone you care. January 22nd is Hi, How Are You Day, a day to fight the stigma against mental health struggles. Join the movement and check in on the people around you. Ask a friend, loved one, or stranger, how are you really doing today? Are you okay? Go to hihowareyou.org to learn more.
Happy New Year! And it's a great time to get new furniture at Woodley's. They're having their New Year's sale, and it's the biggest and best sale of the year. Get 40% off retail and 24-month special financing on the best furniture you've ever seen. They have tons of things in stock for quick delivery, but if you want to get the perfect piece, everything can be customized, but you gotta hurry because the New Year's sale with 40% off retail and 24-month special financing won't last long, so go to woodleys.com today.
This is Dave Logan. You know, we all hope that we never need a personal injury lawyer. I know I do. But if you do, I would suggest you call Dan Kaplis. I've known Dan for more than 20 years. He's a smart, hard-working guy that you can trust. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. He only takes on cases that he believes in, and then he's going to fight like crazy to win. Dan only takes on serious personal injury cases. You can reach Dan at 303-770-5551 or dankaplislaw.com. That's dankaplislaw.com.
Big rewards are waiting for you at Isle Casino Hotel Blackhawk. Join the fan club to get access to exclusive offers. Plus, new members who play 30 minutes on the day they sign up will receive a free buffet to our acclaimed Farmer's Pick Buffet. Sign up today for free at Isle Casino Hotel Blackhawk.
Must be 21. Any and all terms, conditions, rewards, and/or benefits published or received are subject to change or revocation without notice. Eligibility rules and exceptions apply. Refer to official promotional rules. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
If you have sleep apnea, the sound of snoring and leaking air may be keeping you up all night. If CPAP just isn't working, there's now a silent, mask-free sleep solution called Inspire. Inspire works inside your body with your natural breathing process. It delivers mild stimulation throughout the night to keep your airway open, giving you a restful night's sleep. Visit InspireSleep.com to learn more and review important safety information. A sleep solution for you is just a click away at InspireSleep.com.
Connect with Michael Brown. Find him on social media through KOANewsRadio.com.
She turned up her nose as she walked by my Cadillac. From the corner of my eye I saw you and you laughed. You were sitting on the swing on your front porch, painting your nails like you were bored. And you yelled she was sure impressed with you.
I've often said that some of the best stories that we get come from academic journals. This would be one of those. There is a new study out that found that parachutes were no more effective than empty backpacks at protecting jumpers from aircraft. Let me repeat that. A new study has found that parachutes were no more effective than empty backpacks at protecting jumpers from aircraft. Research published in a major medical journal concludes that a parachute is no more effective than an empty backpack at protecting you from harm if you have to jump out of an airplane. You ready? Now, the gold standard for medical research is a study that randomly assigns volunteers to try an intervention or to go without one and be part of a control group. But for some reason, nobody has ever done a randomized, controlled trial of parachutes. In fact, medical researchers often use the parachute example when they argue that they don't need to do a study because they're so sure that they already know that something works, or they already know what the foregone conclusion is. So a cardiologist by the name of Robert Ye, an associate professor at Harvard Medical School and an attending physician at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, got a really clever idea one day. He and his colleagues decided that they would actually attempt the parachute study in order to make a few choice points about the potential pitfalls of research shortcuts. Credit to National Public Radio for this story.
This just in, research published in a major medical journal concludes that a parachute is no more effective than an empty backpack. But before you leap to any conclusions, hear the whole story from NPR science correspondent Richard Harris.
The gold standard for medical research is a study that randomly assigns volunteers to try an intervention or to be in a control group. For some reason, nobody has ever done a randomized controlled trial of parachutes. In fact, medical researchers often use the parachute example when they argue they don't need to do a study because they're so sure they already know the answer. Dr. Robert Ye at Harvard Medical School got a wicked idea one day. He and his colleagues would actually attempt the parachute study to make a few choice points about the potential pitfalls of research. They started by talking to their seatmates in airliners.
We'd strike up a conversation and say, would you be willing to be randomized in a study where you had a 50% chance of jumping out of this airplane with versus without a parachute?
Did you get any takers?
For the most part, we did not on those commercial airlines.
And those who said yes were excluded for reasons of questionable mental health. They had much better success asking members of their own research teams from Harvard, UCLA, and the University of Michigan about volunteering to participate in the experiment on other aircraft.
Either a small biplane, that was our group, we went to Martha's Vineyard and did that, and the group at Michigan went and jumped out of a small helicopter, in fact.
The 23 people who agreed to jump from the smaller aircraft represented quite a skewed sample, which was part of the point Ye and his team were trying to make. Photos taken during the experiment show the volunteers were only too happy to take part.
I think people are, for the most part, laughing all the way down to the ground.
Right, which is about 2 feet or something.
Exactly right.
A minor detail here. The biplane and helicopter were parked. So it's not surprising that nobody suffered any injuries. It's literally true that parachutes offered no better protection for these jumpers than the backpacks.
And of course, the top line results would be that parachutes don't work. But of course, that is a ludicrous result. The real answer is that trial did not show a benefit because of the types of patients that were enrolled.
If they'd enrolled people at high risk for injury, that is, people up in the sky, the results would have been quite different, not to mention unethical. Their study is published in the traditionally lighthearted Christmas issue of the medical journal BMJ.
It's a little bit of a parable to say that we have to look at the fine print. We have to understand the context in which research is designed and conducted to really properly interpret the results.
Emory University epidemiology professor Cecile Janssen says via Skype, this is a real problem in science.
I know that people often don't look detailed enough into what is being investigated to know how they can interpret the results of a trial.
Janssens was delighted to come across the paper on Twitter. She says, like a lot of research, the results are accurate as far as they go.
Results of this trial can only be generalized to situations where people jump out of an aircraft with a few feet above the ground.
She plans to give this paper to her students with a straight face and see how long it takes for them to get get the deeper points about scientific methodology buried in this absurd experiment.
It'll be unforgettable.
Ye is pleased to see that the fun he has had with his colleagues is turning into a teaching tool.
And our greatest, I think, accomplishment from all of this is that we felt very good that we were able to cite Sir Isaac Newton in the paper.
Yes, I noticed that. It was, in fact, his original publication from, 1687.
That's right.
Yes, gravity is a law. Mess with it at your own risk.
Isn't that a great point? Every time you hear a study, particularly a study that's based on modeling, as opposed to real-world observations. Yeah, I'm thinking about climate change. You might want to remember the research papers showing that, well, parachutes are no more effective than empty backpacks at protecting jumpers from aircraft. Factually correct, as long as the aircraft is only 2 feet off the ground. The nut jobs are at it again. Virtue signaling always comes at a price. Fortunately, for those who think that they always know better what's good for us than we know, we have this example. Officials in Key West have taken the initial steps toward banning the sale of sunscreen containing 2 ingredients that could be harmful to coral reefs. Now, let's remember the parachute study, right? Listen again. Officials in Key West took the initial steps toward banning the sale of sunscreens that contain 2 ingredients that could be harmful to coral reefs. Now, what are these substances? I'm sure I'll bastardize the pronunciation, but oxybenzone and octinoxate, OCTINOXATE. Some studies have shown that the chemicals encourage coral bleaching. Can you imagine how much sunscreen you would have to use for a coral reef to know the difference? Or rather, try to imagine how many thousands of gallons of sunscreen you would have to pour straight into the ocean for it to have any, even a negligible, effect on the coral reefs. Monroe County Commissioner Jimmy Weekly said people could still get a prescription for the sunscreens. Oh, so you're afraid that sunscreen has these 2 ingredients that might coral reefs because some studies have shown that the chemicals encourage coral bleaching, but you can still get the sunscreen as long as you have a prescription. How considerate. Now, this is absolute nonsense, in my opinion, but it is not unprecedented. Hawaii banned the sale or distribution of sunscreens containing these ingredients beginning in 2021. Meanwhile, squamous cell carcinoma, the second most common skin cancer, that alone kills 15,000 Americans every year. Using sufficiently powerful sunscreen reduces the risk of that cancer by 40%. Sunscreen.
Now, you know, and everybody knows, why the weather is screwed up. It's because we lost the ozone layer. Well, if we lost the ozone layer, why don't we put it on milk cartons and try to find it? It's absolutely stupid that we live without an ozone layer. We have men, we've got rockets, we've got saran wrap. Fix it! And don't come back till you do. The only thing that we've come up with to deal with the fact that we don't have an ozone layer is sunblock. And I don't trust that stuff at all. Okay? Why? Because the people who told us about sunblock are the same people who said eggs are good. And then they said eggs were bad. And then they said eggs are good. And then they said they were bad. And then they said the yellows are actually bad, but the whites are... Make up your mind! It's breakfast, I gotta eat! You'll find out about sunblock in a number of years. You'll find out that that's the reason you had cholesterol. They'll go, it wasn't the steak, it was the sunblock. I don't use sunblock. What I use is Crisco. It's the best. You get a tub of it, it costs about $1.10. You can share it with everybody at the beach. And the great thing about Crisco is you never get burnt. Because when you start to sizzle, you move your ass.
Oh, Lewis Black, love him, I love him, I love him. A mother decides to teach her son a lesson. Men, pay attention. Because your toxic masculinity would prevent you from doing something as brilliant as this woman in Lexington, Kentucky, who decided to teach her son a lesson by...
Kentucky mother told police she drove drunk at high speeds to teach her son a lesson. 48-year-old Sunita Jaram was arrested early yesterday and told Lexington police she drank a lot of beer and then drove 150 miles an hour with her son in the car.
Wow. I'm impressed. I didn't know a Volkswagen Beetle could get that kind of speed.
The son said he tried to get out several times, but the door was locked. Mom's now been charged with DWI and child endangerment.
No. It was a BMW. Yep. It was some privileged white woman trying to teach her son a lesson. Yeah, driving her Beamer, 150 miles an hour. Here's the best part, though. Booking records show that her blood alcohol content was 0.161. Does that mean anything to you? That's twice the legal limit. Records show that she had previously been charged both with speeding and public intoxication. Teach your children well. Speaking of teaching, Twitter is in collusion with the Democrats. Twitter has gone to Congress to ensure that they're using social media as effectively as possible. Yesterday, USA Today reported that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has the largest following in the U.S. House of Representatives, would be taking the lead. USA Today wrote, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dances outside her office, solicits Instant Pot recipes, and gets into fights on Twitter. Soon you may see other Democrats taking a page from her social media playbook. The House Democratic Policy and Communications Committee is hosting a session held today with Ocasio-Cortez of New York, parentheses, at AOC, 2.42 million followers. That's scary. 2.42 million idiots following AOC. And Representative Jim Himes of Connecticut, he's only got 76,500 followers, on the most effective ways to engage constituents on Twitter and the importance of digital storytelling. The decision to invite Ocasio-Cortez, a House freshman, to share her expertise signals the Democratic Party's attempt to bring in fresh voices, even when those voices don't always agree with leadership. Yeah, like trying to get Democrats defeated. I love when the left eats the left. Posting a selfie with colleagues, Congressman Ted Lieu of California confirms that it's not just Democrats meeting, but Twitter is participating too. Who are the Twitter representatives? And what are they doing? Congressman Debbie Dingell, does that name ring a bell? I'd have to look it up. But I think a Dingell has... Oh, man. A Dingell has represented this particular congressional district in Michigan for like 200 years. Maybe since since Michigan became a state, I don't know. She's included in the photo, chimed in, learning from the best. Now, it's not clear if Twitter's going to assist Republicans as well, but considering how Jack Dorsey, the founder and CEO of Twitter, and his insatiable hankering for silencing conservatives on Twitter, well, we can probably guess the answer that Twitter won't be out trying to teach Republicans how to use Twitter effectively at all. No, why would you do that? The Department of Justice is out with a report, I should say, DOJ doesn't do, well, they do, I guess DOJ does do narratives, but this is a report. A January 2019, pretty current, huh? Department of Justice report shows that fewer than 3% of prisoners who used guns in crimes acquired those guns at retail stores or at a gun show. I thought we had to close the gun show loophole. Fewer than 3% of prisoners. The report titled, quote, Source and Use of Firearms Involved in Crimes, Survey of Prison Inmates 2016, presents information ascertained via face-to-face interviews with nearly 300,000 prisoners who used a gun in commission of a crime. Who wants to talk to 300,000 dirtbags about their use of a gun in a crime? Bureaucrats. It shows that roughly 1.3% of prisoners obtained a gun from a retail source and used it during their crimes. Only 0.8% of prisoners acquired their guns at a gun show. But if you listen to everybody that's anti-gun, oh my God, we need common sense gun control legislation, and we got to shut the gun show loophole. Oh my gosh, the criminals are just getting guns at the shows. Oh, wait a minute. 0.8% of those 300,000 prisoners who used a gun in the commission of a crime actually acquired their guns at a gun show. Do you just suppose that 0.8% were not felons at the time that they bought their guns at a gun show? And then they got the gun at the gun show, and they went out and committed their felony, and then the popo got them and put them in prison, and now they got interviewed by the Department of Justice, and they feel all so cool. Hey, Bubba, guess who came to see me today? I don't know who. Did your old lady come to see you? No. Some squirty little guy from the Department of Justice. What do you want to know? Where I got my gun. You didn't tell him, did you? Oh, yeah, I lied to him, told him I got it at a gun show. So that 0.8%, yeah, it's probably like 0.1%. Because prisoners always tell the truth. Bottom line is this information undercuts all of those claims by Democrats that expanding background checks are going to keep us safer. Politico quoted Congressman Mike Thompson, a Democrat from California, saying that universal background check legislation is going to help save lives. But how it's going to save lives if less than 3% of criminals acquire their guns at a retail or a gun show while the vast majority steal or otherwise acquire them on the side? I don't understand. Can't figure it out. I don't know what to do. I do know this, though. There's a crisis at the southern border. And I didn't realize it was true until I found somebody that I could trust to tell me the truth about it.
We now have an actual humanitarian crisis on the border that only underscores the need to drop the politics and fix our immigration system once and for all.
Ooh, that's really good. Let's listen to that again, because I think you know who is telling us, drop the politics and solve the problem.
We now have an actual humanitarian crisis on the border that only underscores the need to drop the politics and fix our immigration system once and for all.
You know what's great about that? Were they lying then or are they lying now? Oh, they're lying every time. It's kind of like the old lawyer joke. You know how to tell if a lawyer's lying? His lips are moving. You know how to tell if a politician is lying? Their lips are moving. Yep.
In recent weeks, we've seen a surge of unaccompanied children arrive at the border.
Whoa, back that up. Where have I heard that before? What? This is like from 6 years ago. How can this be?
Brought here into other countries by smugglers and traffickers. Brought here into other countries by smugglers and traffickers.
That sounds like Donald Trump.
The journey is unbelievably dangerous for these kids.
You hear the sirens in the background? I kept thinking maybe they were coming for him.
The children who are fortunate enough to survive it will be taken care of while they go through the legal process, but in most cases that process will lead to them being sent back home. I've sent a clear message to parents in these countries not to put their kids through this.
Yeah, he sent a clear message, all right. Come on down. Be the next person to be sustained by the American taxpayer. You're listening to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio, 850 AM, 94.1 FM, and always on the Michael Brown Show page at KOANewsRadio.com.
You remember him from those appearances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He's still around doing 200 performances a year all over the world. I'm Ed Green, and he's amazing. Really, the amazing Kreskin on KOA Q&A this Saturday morning, 7 a.m. on KOA News Radio.
You know, I told you a few years ago I turned down endorsing a solar company because when I looked at the financials, for you as a homeowner, they just didn't make any sense. Well, that's no longer the case after working with Zoetic Solar. Now, with Zoetic Solar, they simply replace your current electric bill as payment for your own solar panels. That means your monthly out-of-pocket is the same as your electric bill, but now you own your energy source. No down payments required, and once your panels are paid off, you have free energy for your house for life. You see, you own those solar panels. You're not renting them, which is what most companies do. This puts more money in your pocket and increases your home's value. And when Zoetic puts solar panels on your roof, they're also going to insulate your attic, put in a smart home thermostat, all of which saves you even more money. And the other reason I like Zoetic, these guys are local, right here in Denver. Great guys. So if you've even been thinking about solar, I want you to call them and get a free quote. 888-637-4447. That's 888-637-4447.
Are you getting the most from your natural gas supplier? The experts at CenterPoint Energy Services help thousands of businesses like yours maximize their energy dollars. Take advantage of our custom-built energy solutions, competitive pricing, and strong buying power backed by our Fortune 500 parent company. It's what makes CenterPoint Energy Services one of America's most trusted companies, and it's how we're doing natural gas better for you. Visit centerpointenergy.com/energy services. CenterPoint Energy.
Sometimes it's a buyer's market, sometimes it's a seller's market, but it's always a renter's market. So if you're considering a move or just tired of paying your mortgage, why not rent your home and have someone else pay your mortgage? Renting can be a fantastic long-term investment, but maybe you're not sure what to charge or how to find the right tenants. That's where Renters Warehouse comes in. They perfectly price your house. They find great tenants in just days, and for one low, flat monthly fee, they will manage your property 24/7. They'll collect the rent. They'll handle the maintenance requests. They'll even warranty your renters. That means if your tenant doesn't stay, Renters Warehouse will replace them for free. There's no upfront fees, no marketing fees, and no binding contract. Go to renterswarehouse.com right now to book a free home rental price analysis and see what your home will rent for. That's renterswarehouse.com. Because you can't buy happiness, but you can rent it.
Find out how much your home will rent for. Renters Warehouse. RentersWarehouse.com.
If you built a van, you'd start with the people who invented the work van, Mercedes-Benz. It would be available in diesel and gas. There would be thousands of configurations to choose from, and you'd build it right here in the USA. Introducing the all-new Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, built for you. The all-new Sprinter, built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details about costs and terms.
This is Sean Farshi with Mercedes-Benz of Littleton. Find your new Sprinter at Mercedes-Benz of Littleton. MercedesofLittleton.com.
There are some things that you just can't control. Take the direction of the market. You have to be ready for anything. Pat Woodard here for Hanson McLean Advisors. And while control of the market may be out of reach, if you're within 5 years of retirement, control over your planning and investments are things you need to get a handle on right now. To help you out, Hanson McLean is hosting free 75-minute retirement workshops all across the Denver area the week of January 21st. They'll be in Highlands Ranch, Broomfield, Lakewood, and the Denver Tech Center. Topics include figuring out how much you'll need to retire, basic investment management, Social Security, and a whole lot of other important things that can help you retire well. Do you know that almost 5,000 people attended one of their workshops last year? These educational events are free, but you must reserve your seat in advance, and their January workshops tend to be their busiest, so sign up soon. 75 minutes to help you prepare for a possible 30-year retirement. Reserve your spot today at HansonMcLean.com.
KBCO HD3 Boulder. This is an iHeart radio station.
KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM. The 50,000-watt blowtorch of the Rocky Mountain West.
KOA News Radio time is 9 o'clock. I'm Roger Hudson. The president responds in a big way to Speaker Pelosi's request that he delay his State of the Union address. And Governor Polis signs an executive order to encourage more electric vehicles. We have details, but first, traffic and weather together. Here's Darren Copeland.
Well, thank you very much, and we are accident-free around the metro area and looking really good. Not an accident in sight. We do have some slowing around the Pepsi Center as well as the National Western Stock Social. Be aware of that. And also, we do have some ramp construction that's causing some problems on Santa Fe. This is going to be southbound between Evans and Hampton. I'm Darren Copeland on KOA News Radio, Colorado's news, traffic, and weather station.
A fairly mild evening here in Denver, 30 degrees for us with partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow we'll have a bit cooler temperature arrive for us, 40 degrees, and we will have a chance for some snow a little bit later on into the afternoon and evening hours. We don't expect much accumulation here in Denver, maybe a half inch to an inch, but if you live on the south side of town or maybe more to the west, you have a chance for some better accumulation, and if you're heading into the high country, watch out for some snowy conditions. We'll clear out again by Saturday. From CBS 4, I'm meteorologist Lauren Whitney on KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Mostly cloudy and 42 degrees. In response to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's request to postpone the State of the Union address, President Trump has canceled her delegation's overseas trip to Afghanistan today. In his letter to the Speaker, the president suggested that Pelosi could fly commercial if she chooses. Well, the bickering between President Trump and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is irking Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. Today, he publicly called Trump's cancellation of Pelosi's overseas military transportation sophomoric, and Pelosi's request that Trump delay the State of the Union address blatantly political. President Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, also claiming that he never said there was any collusion between Trump's campaign and the Russia leading up to the 2016 presidential election. Senate number 2 Democrat Dick Durbin, he had something to say.
Try to track what Giuliani has said over the months about his client, about this occurrence. It changes so dramatically, so many times that I really don't know where he's coming from.
Giuliani had some responses on Fox News. He said his comments were taken out of context and has been misinterpreted by the Main Street press. As part of his push for converting Colorado to 100% renewable energy by 2040, Governor Polis has signed an executive order to support a transition to electric cars in Colorado. Part of that order would give consumers more choices, according to the new governor.
There are electric vehicles sold in other parts of the country today that simply aren't sold in Colorado. So it's about increasing availability to consumers, having better prices for consumers, helping consumers tap into the savings from lower fuel costs.
Remember that $70 million that was recovered from the Volkswagen emission case? Well, it will be used to build some of those charging stations across our state. The Colorado Automobile Dealer Association says that Governor Polis's order includes a proposal to adopt California-type electric vehicle mandates, and they're not happy about it.
The association says Colorado consumers don't need the government telling them which vehicles to buy. Association President Tim Jackson says 3/4 of Coloradans choose vehicles from the light truck category, such as pickup trucks and SUVs. He says there's a reason why you don't see electric vehicles pulling horse trailers.
Fine after getting into a car crash. Just to remind you, he is 97 years of age, and he got into this incredible car wreck, apparently turning his SUV over 4 separate times, flipped it onto its side, and walked away. Buckingham Palace saying,
Blackfin IRS Solutions. The good news is, the instant we file taxes, you go from being a fugitive to just owing money, and then Blackfin can negotiate with the IRS for you.
A senior Chinese military official warned the U.S. Navy this week against any interference in support of Taiwan's independence, saying that Beijing would defend its claim to the island at any cost. General Li Zuchang, a member of the Central Military Commission, made the remarks during a meeting in Beijing with Admiral John Richardson, the chief of U.S. naval operations. Territory to be reunified, despite the two sides being ruled separately since they split back in 1949, after a civil war won by Mao Zedong and the commies. Taiwan, on the other hand, has been a self-ruled island with its own currency, its own flag, and its own government, but it is not recognized, as if I care, as an independent state by the United Nations. Beijing has said it will not hesitate to use force if Taipei formally declares independence, or in the case of external intervention, including by the United States, which is Taiwan's obviously most powerful unofficial ally. We have China making all these moves in the South China Sea, effectively trying to cut off the Philippines and Australia and New Zealand, claiming international waters for their own. We're responding meekly because, well, quite frankly, I don't think we've got the naval power that we need to have. We got Russia making moves on both sides of the planet. We're being tested. And what are we doing? Nothing. Well, the president's trying to rebuild the military. He's trying to draw down troops in Syria and Afghanistan and other places. And, but we do have obligations. And the obligations are not, it's more than the fact that we just have obligations. We have treaties, we have alliances. And while I don't think we ought to be in the business of nation building, I do think our presence in South Korea, Japan, took the notes from the interpreter so that those could not become part of that interpreter. So it just depends on whether or not the world leader speaks English or not, or whether or not the president speaks that country's language. But here's what bugs me. Because it involves Russia, everybody thinks that there's something nefarious going on. I happen to think that there's not. I think that the best thing that a president can do is sit down and develop a personal relationship, even with dictators. Now, if you're Donald Trump,